Hello and welcome to another episode of Bumble and Kimber. I'm your host, Sam Ellard. So much to get through on today's episode. We build up to the big test match series between New Zealand and England, of course, live and exclusive on talkSPORT 2. We talk all things the IPL, the auction coming up. Jarrod tells us the one player to look out for. He's an Aussie, interestingly. But to start the show off, Bumble wanted to get something off his chest. The 100.
It's still burning away and it's hotting up the sale of the 100. Now, he's the man who'll give you the SP on all that. But, you know, up in Old Trafford and having Emirates Old Trafford having a vested interest because they're one of the clubs, the originals that's for sale, and the meetings are going on behind closed doors, that 49% is being sold and to be distributed to the counties. The talk is that the people who are buying 49%, and nothing will change, it'll be exactly the same, no personnel changes, no name changes, it's just going to be the same. Jarrod, that is utter nonsense. If you're going to spend millions and millions of pounds, you've got to have a say.
From what I understand of billionaires, they like to give their money away and then not be involved at all. They don't try and do power grabs. They don't do any change.
Unbelievable.
That's what I understand of billionaires, that they're just doing this out of the kindness of their own heart. They see that county cricket is struggling and they're going to give some, I mean, who thinks that? Who are these people in these, that's not the only county that believes that. There's a few of the other counties as well.
So generally speaking, yeah, generally.
It's only 49%. It's like, It's not 49% when the Ambani family buy you. Do you know what I mean? It's once someone like that buys in, everything changes. They're going to expect color changes. They're going to expect coaching changes. They're going to
Name changes?
Game changes. I like it.
Admin,
everything.
Admin.
Yeah.
And so on.
The way the social media is done, right?
Yeah.
The way that people are coached, when they have access to the grounds, who has access to the grounds, at what time of the year they have access to the grounds. These guys aren't just putting this money in for fun, right? They want to take this over. And so this idea that you're only selling 49% is a pipe dream, because on one side, you have a county who's never going to make that much money. And on the other side, you have billionaires who have endless checkbooks. They're going to have to go back to the billionaires again, aren't they? And so whether it is through, extra money coming in, whether it is through influence, whether it is through bringing in sponsors, all those things are going to come from the 49%, not the 51%.
Yeah, how much is it? So what sort of money are we talking? And let's say the Birmingham franchise or the Old Trafford, Emirates Old Trafford franchise, how much are we talking? What's the ballpark figure?
Well, how much do the ECB want? Or how much are we actually talking about?
Well, how much are they talking about? That is the person or people or the enterprise that's buying, how much are they willing to pay?
So I haven't seen any official offers, but I know that offers have gone in, and I know that there's certainly been offers go in from everywhere from $50 to $200 million is what I've heard, depending on the franchise.
Dollars.
Well, yeah, dollars. I mean, when you're on calls with those sorts of people, you don't want to stop them and go, is that dollars or pounds? But dollars and pounds are about the same now, isn't it?
Give or take.
But yeah, so I think it's in that kind of ballpark that we're looking. But the only big money I've really heard is for the two London sides. That's the one that people are desperate for. Because you're talking about Indian billionaires who have flats. And sometimes, flats as being a little bit unfair.
I've got a flat.
A flat.
I don't think we're on the same level.
They own buildings.
I own a very small room in a building.
Yeah. They own buildings overlooking personal parks in London, that sort of thing. Modi's one of those, by the way. But they own those sorts of things in London, and they want to be able to say that they own English cricket and that they can also go down the road and watch their team play, right? So the other areas are not quite as strong because of that. I don't know if you might get a couple of people who are more interested in maybe the Birmingham and the Manchester side of things, but at the moment it seems like all the money is coming for the London teams, and that's where the clamour is, because that's where the real growth is, right? Like if you make the 100 work in London, you are talking about a lot of money, whereas if you make the 100 work in some of these other markets, you're probably not looking the same kind of investments, which is why the ECB is desperate to try and get other people from outside of just India involved.
America.
They've done a lot of work with the Americans, and I've talked to about 3 or 4 potential investors from America. And they're like, I don't understand what I'm buying, Jarrod. Like, we've gone through the numbers and it doesn't really make a lot of sense to us. So there's certainly an element from that sort of, that side of things where people are saying, are we buying something that might work one day rather than something that's already working now? And as when the Americans, you can imagine they're a little bit like, that's not the same. Whereas for an Indian person, they're like, well, we can see how this might grow, but also we get a chance to say we own a cricket team at Lord's. Like, we're going to do that.
So will the 49 percenters have an influence on who actually plays?
Yes.
There we go.
And who coaches and who maybe runs the whole board in the end, right?
Is there any way we could see Indian players playing in the 100?
These owners wouldn't be buying all these teams around the world. Forget the 100, but the 100 as well, without the idea that eventually, that's how they make their money, right? So the Ambani family owns South Africa, Dubai, Major League Cricket, I think, and quite a few of the other owners own CPL teams as well, right? The idea is that they'll be able to eventually do this. So the BCCI a couple of years ago was laughing at all the other cricket boards going, look at them all struggling and look at what we're doing. And now they're starting to understand what happens when you sell. And you sell to people who are even more influential and more powerful than you are. And so it won't be long before all those owners band together and go, no, we've invested in this young Indian player. We're now going to take him on a world tour and he's going to play in the USA and he's going to play in England. And, eventually they'll try and buy Big Bash teams. Well, they're already trying to buy Big Bash teams. I think there was an article the other day, I don't know if you saw this, that every couple of months they fly out to Australia and see if there's any chance of a sale. So they're trying to buy everything.
Did this have to happen, do you think, guys? If we're looking at it now just on what's best for the 100 and what's best to try and grow the 100, outside investment coming in after, 4 years of the 100, did this have to happen, do you think?
Well, Big Bash hasn't done it. Don't you think that's weird that the league that you've copied has not done it and you have done it? So the Big Bash seems to be really happy with just slow growth, right? And building up. And also, the Big Bash is no longer the biggest league at that time of the year. And they're still like, no, we're going to do this properly. We're going to set this up like a league, get us to a situation. It's interesting to me that the ECB seem to have spent so much money on the 100 that they already need all this investment to not break even, but
Spent a lot of money
to make it work, right? Like that to me suggests that they haven't really run the 100 that well. It hasn't been the success that they want it to be. And this 49% is not a small amount, right? Like if it was 10 or 15%, I'd be like, okay, I can understand that. And maybe they can manage those people. But once you're talking about the kinds of money that you're doing here, I think it's too early for the 100 to do this because the 100's not a strong competition yet, right? Like I compare it to the Big Bash because that is the one that's copied on. The Big Bash, every year how many people roughly are going to watch it. You know what the interest is. There's a lot of media coverage of it. It's a major thing. It's on free-to-air TV. It's on pay TV. People watch it all the time. The 100 is like still a Sky product with a little bit of BBC.
Yeah.
The Sky I don't feel Sky push it as hard as they could because it's not just their product on their own. ECB is not very good at marketing cricket. They never really have been. That's why we have the 100 in the first place. So it feels like to me at the moment, they are selling from a position of weakness, not a position of strength. And once you do that to a billionaire will just keep chipping away until they have all the power.
See, I'd be so excited. I'm quite positive about it all. And I hear what he's saying. The money will be what it is. Well, they'll come to an agreement. I'm more interested in once you've bought. Now, what are your plans? What plans have you got in that particular area? Let's talk Manchester or Birmingham. What are your plans for cricket in that area? Now, that's the excitement. And the other thing that these people, particularly from India, are excellent at digital awareness to get into digital media. Market leaders, in fact. So where are you going to project and promote your product that you've just bought?
And I think that's a really interesting thing because the 100 exists because of how bad the ECB have been from the TCCB days all the way through to now, right? So cricket goes from a majority game in this country to a minority game, right? Now, I know football getting big has played a big part in that as well. But how many times have you thought to yourself, the ECB is doing really well with their marketing at the moment. Oh, look, there's a bus with Sam Curran on it looking slightly constipated. That's the only marketing I see in London of cricket. Have you ever seen that? You know the bus.
I've seen Sam Curran constipated. No,
In the Surrey T20 team, they have this picture of Sam Curran on the side of a bus, and he just looks constipated. My point is, they're not particularly good at marketing their players. They don't get their players out in the media enough. You look at Flintoff is the only breakout star of cricket prior to Ben Stokes. And so about every 10 years, they have like one breakout star, right? It's not a mainstream sport in that kind of way. And so that's why the 100 exists. So what the billionaires will do is they're going to bring all these different other ideas. So from that point of view, I could see why it might work. But they're not doing it to help English cricket or the 100.
No.
Right? They don't care. They want their brand, whether it be the Royals or, you know, the Indians or whoever that brand is, KKR. They want those brands to be stronger. But at the same time, I think that you're probably of the right age of this. There's a whole generation of cricket fans who are not as strong into the English team now, who are in their mid-20s, and that's because they grew up watching the IPL on free-to-air TV. There's been really good brand awareness around IPL teams in the UK before. It's dropped off now that it's gone back to pay TV a little bit, but there was certainly a period of time where this was a very interesting thing. That's the sort of thing that these people will bring back into it, and also the Americans as well. Like, let's imagine at least 1 or 2 American groups are going to come in. Your friend Ryan Reynolds, your close personal friend of the show.
Friend of this YouTube show as well.
Yeah, I loves it. He's watching
I hope you're okay.
He's watching it all the time. But those sorts, again, think of the kind of marketing they do in cricket and think of the kind of marketing cricket does at the moment. It's like, there's a big difference there. So there is some things we can learn from everything else, but you are giving up the heart and soul and potentially the control of the sport.
Bumble, are you happy with that?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I mean, it's going to get hotter. It's hot now, but it's going to come to a crescendo very soon.
We're recording this, guys, just a couple of days away from the first Test match. Australia, India. Let's talk 2 of India's best players who go into the series in pretty bad form. Kohli and Sharma. Virat Kohli.
You said beforehand that they should both be dropped and that they're overrated, didn't you?
Yeah,
That would be said off air, everyone, yeah?
I wouldn't have even flown Virat Kohli out to Australia, by the way. I'd have left him in India, or in London even. I'd have left him here. But 93 runs in 3 tests against New Zealand for Virat Kohli. And that comes off the back of 2 bad tests against Bangladesh, averaging just over 20 this year in Test match cricket. Is Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma only passed 50 once in those home matches. There were lots and lots of low scores. Jarrod, you covered the New Zealand series for talkSPORT 2. On both, as they approach the end of their career, are they done? Or do you still think they've got it in them to have one more good, real purple patch?
I actually thought Virat Kohli moved quite well in that series and just didn't make any runs. So perhaps I'm in the minority there. Look, his issue is much different than Rohit's because his is now, 4.5 years in. And also, he stopped playing seam very well and stopped playing spin very well. And like the double whammy of that is quite tough. But last year, he made a lot of runs in Test cricket. So because of that, I think you have to give him another chance. I want to see him in Australia because I think he probably bats better in Australia than he does anywhere else on earth.
Why is that, do you think?
I think he just likes the pace of the ball coming on.
Yes.
I think that's one of the reasons he's so good playing in chases in ODI cricket is because he plays at night and the ball just skids on a little bit more at night than it does during the day. So I think he legitimately likes the pace coming onto it. So I want to see him in that situation. But if he doesn't make runs in Australia, I don't think there's any real reason bringing him to the UK. And so I think they do have to have some conversations with him. But I kind of back him to make runs in Australia. Rohit, I think, has looked incredible of recent times in all formats, really. And he's just started to drop off in Test matches. So I'm not as concerned. The concern really is the double issue, right? Because you've got 2 older players. And also, it's 10 away Test matches that they've got. Right, it was going to be 11, but they didn't make the World Test Championship final so far. They might beat Australia 5-0, but 10 away Test matches in a row. So which young kids in India are ready to conquer Australia and then England? And I think the truth is that Sarfaraz Khan was, a month ago, everyone was saying he was the greatest thing since sliced bread. And then suddenly there are a lot of Indian fans going, maybe he's overrated. So settle down. He's a young kid. He's quite an emotional player. Let him work out his game. Jaiswal went to South Africa and struggled. He's about to go to Australia, so he's going to get tested. There isn't like another Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma with their experience and everything available. I think you allow those players certainly a few chances. But as I said, if Kohli doesn't make runs in Australia, you're talking about a 4.5 year period where he hasn't made any. I think they have to have some pretty big conversations, especially considering that Rohit, I don't think, is looking at leaving the game as quickly as Virat might be.
What do you reckon, Bumble? Is Kohli scoring runs in Australia?
I give him one last go, and this 10 matches is so important for individuals and for the team. Is there anybody better? Is the question you'd always ask. You know, these are iconic players. Is there anybody better? One thing for certain, Australia will be ferocious, absolutely ferocious. And they gun after weakness. They look at weakness, perceive weakness. They will see that these players, them too, have not been at the best, they'll go after them two specifically. Don't worry too much about the others, because they will say that the others will fall into place. But then, is it an ageing Australia attack with Stark's 34, Hazelwood's 33? But they will be fit and primed. It's kicked off already. It's kicked as it always would do, and that's a bit of spice to it. Ricky Ponting and the coach. What's the coach called?
Andrew McDonald.
Gambia. So that's kicked off already.
Yeah.
So that's good. You'd expect that anyway, because every time you turn up, I love it before you start, because eventually the talking will stop and they'll have another bit of a go at each other, and they'll keep going backwards and forwards then too, because they have to. You know, it brings interest, and none of them two will back off. Once somebody's started, he'll come back at him, and then he'll come again. They'll just keep going until eventually that coin goes up and they decide, right, we're going to play a bit of cricket. I'm really looking forward to it, because having been there as a player and a coach, I know that Australia, in their own midding, will be, as that word as I'll use again, ferocious, absolutely ferocious. And them two had better be A1, because they'll be gunning after them.
So did he say they were finished or not? I didn't hear an answer in that.
No, I'll give him a go. I'm giving him a go.
Test matches in Australia.
You see, he's not paying attention, because I said...
He's still thinking about that 100. It's a 100 franchise.
Is there anybody better?
You're saying no, aren't you? You're saying no to that, right?
He never piped up and said, yeah, there is, there's him and him. He didn't say it, did it?
No,
he's
that's
not
true.
listening.
You said it could have been Southee, but it's not.
Well, no, what I mean is, like, if you're saying, like, Shreyas Iyer is a great player, right? Like a great player in development. They know how good he is. Southee is another one. Jaiswal's another one. Who thinks that they're about to start in 10 straight overseas tests in Australia and England, right? And so you can't get rid of Kohli and Rohit in that system and just be like, okay, so we've got two guys even beneath that level, right? So younger players coming through. You're just asking for young players to fail in that sort of
You're almost setting them up to fail, aren't you?
Yeah, so Kohli's the only one, because it's been so long. I think you give him Australia, because he's not been a great player in England consistently in his career.
But could you see someone, if he doesn't get runs in Australia, could you see someone in that India team tapping him on the shoulder and telling him he's not going to England?
Well,
I almost sort of think that it's kind of thing causes Virat Kohli, no matter how bad run he's at.
What if he
says that
that's enough? That'll do me.
You mentioned Ricky Ponting before. So Ricky Ponting and Kohli have almost identical careers, which is they start when they're really young and everyone says they're going to be great, but they're not. They're not consistently good for a long period of time. Then they have like a 6 or a 7 year period. But I think Ponting's peak is about as good as anyone outside of Bradman or Steve Smith's peak, right? For about 7 years. And Kohli's just a little bit less than that. But then Ponting went over a cliff and he never came back. And we all
How long did he fail for, Ponting, towards the end of his career?
I think it was about 4 or 5 years.
It was that long?
Yeah, it was long. And in his book, he admitted, he was like, yeah, probably just played on too long.
Yeah.
He was like, I thought it would come back and it just never came back. And you look at Kohli and you're like, what if that's the same thing? And it's like,
Definite.
But you earn the right to be Virat Kohli. You earn the right to have 4 or 5 bad years, because no one could touch him for that 6 or 7 years.
And Rohit Sharma, the captain as well?
Obviously, not to start with.
Not to start with, but right now, given the captaincy and importance he's got in that respect, is that something do you think that's maybe impacted his batting, guys?
No, because I think he was a good captain. I mean, he just won a World Cup. It's like
It's Test match cricket.
I know, but I think he's fine with the captaincy. I don't think there's any issue there. There was a long period when no one in India was making runs, and Rohit was making runs on those really tough wickets, and he suddenly started to catch up a little bit. So maybe he was due a little bit of a regression in form. Again, I think he bats quite well in Australia.
He'll be as good as his attack.
Yeah.
He wants Bumrah fit. Shami's coming back. That's a big plus to him. Huge plus. He'll be as good as his attack. Can he get right into that Aussie batting lineup?
And you remember, you mentioned the needle. The last time these two sides faced, I mean, obviously, Tim Payne, or was it saying it to Ravi Ashwin, we can't wait to get you to the Gabba. There was plenty of needle, wasn't it? And that series is iconic because of what India did and the way they came back to win. But I'll never forget the chirping, in particular, Tim Payne giving it, Ashwin was giving it. It was memorable, wasn't it, Bumble?
Yeah, well, but you don't expect anything else because it's a non-contact sport. Yeah. So you've got to get at them somehow. Yeah. And the only way is having a chat, really.
India-Australia is so cool for the minutiae of the nonsense, right? So there was, I remember there was a whole news story once where the Australian press were going, there's been a tool used to change the pitch. And then the pitch curator came out and went, yeah, it's the thing to check the moisture. Like every curator in the world. And then there was the one where Steve Smith, do you remember this? Steve Smith was, when he was in the field, he went out and he was like marking the guard. And the Indians went, look, he's changing the guards and they didn't play his heads. And it's like, Steve Smith doesn't even, Steve Smith is just marking guard. He probably thought he was still batting. Yeah. And so these things become the biggest stories online, and people love it.
I tell you what, Sam, as well, get into the media centre, because the Aussie press will be right into the India players. Because they're always the same. Nothing will change there. Yeah. So they've got back to contend with as well.
Let's do some predictions then. Who's scoring the most runs in this series?
Travis Head.
I said Travis Head, didn't I, Bumble? Before Jarrod came in. Sash me late as always.
So number 5. You're going to look at number 5. Go on, I'm going to go Shubman Gill.
Oh, it's not too bad.
Shubman Gill.
He batted well in Australia last time.
Shubman Gill.
In terms of the Australia team and the makeup of the top 7, what we think is going to be, are you happy with it?
No.
Well, you're not happy with them, why?
Well, they're not particularly a good side at the moment. They're kind of in transition. Usman Khawaja, Marnus Labuschagne and Steve Smith aren't really in top form. So there's a lot of talk about like Usman Khawaja, and it's like, yeah, but he's not made a lot of runs of recent times. Marnus has really been struggling for 18 months or so now, and Steve Smith doesn't know what he's doing.
Does anyone in form going into this?
Well, there is a good point. Travis Head, that's why we picked him. Shubman Gill, that's why we went with
just those two guys. They're the only ones who are going to score runs.
So you've got 3 of Australia's top 4 not in form right at the moment, and then you've got McSweeney opening the batting. So I looked at McSweeney's record, and I think he'll be a very good Test player. But at number 3, he averages 30 in first-class cricket. At number 4, he averages 44. And when he's batted at number 5, he averages, I think, 50-odd.
He's opening.
He's opening.
Could Head have opened and McSweeney got in at 5?
No, I think you don't want to move
because Head's going so well.
Yeah, I just think you leave Head where it is. But the point being is, the reason they've picked a Bumble like this is no top order players in Australia are making any runs, right? So this guy who's batting further down the order is making all the runs, and they're like, oh, maybe he'll be able to open.
Why would that work? I think I know why. They must have been watching basketball and how England are picking teams. And that's what England do, right? England don't pick players to the right position.
Yeah.
They pick players.
We're market leaders. Do you keep wicket? No. Well, you do now.
Yeah. You've never batted first drop before. Give it a go. It only says cricket. So I think Australia has lots of weaknesses through that sort of that top 4 that. Look, and we could be in a situation where they don't get Usman Khawaja out and they can bat around Usman Khawaja and they're fine. But Australia's strength really of recent times has been 5 and 6. And you don't really want to get there, fall down for none.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we've got Travis Head and we've got Shubman Gill scoring the most runs. I'll tell you what, guys, I can't wait for this series now. I'm looking forward to it. Most wickets. Now, I know a lot of this is fitness depending.
Yeah. They might not all, but we play all the tests either.
Exactly, and we are recording this 3 days out.
But the answer is Josh Hazlewood, so write that down.
Straight away. He was late, but he was thinking about who's taking the most wickets. Why, by the way? Why Bumble thinks, why are you so short? It's Josh Hazlewood.
I think he's averaged 13 in his last 5 tests or something ridiculous. No, he should.
It's a pretty good answer.
I think what happened was he tried to get good at white ball cricket for a little while, and his test numbers went up, and now he's very comfortable with his white ball cricket. He's not thinking about that anymore. It's almost automatic for him, and he went back to working on what he does well in tests. And I think he's almost at his peak right at the moment as a bowler for accuracy, thinking batters, and of course he's tall as hell.
I'll flip it on his head. Jasprit Bumrah.
Also a good option.
Yeah.
I can't believe you didn't go Bumrah.
I'm not saying Bumrah, but
well, I'm just listening to him how bad Australia are. He's one of the best we've ever seen. He's got a new ball on a quick bouncy pick. Jasprit Bumrah, write it down.
We got Head, we got Gill, we got Hazlewood, and we got Jasprit Bumrah. Yeah. Final one I'm going to throw away here. What's going to be the surprise moment of this series? It could be anything. It could be a result, it could be a player, it could be a pitch, it could be a pundit, it could be absolutely anything. What's going to happen in this series that's going to catch us out? I'll put you on the spot here, guys, but if the pause is much longer, we can edit this down, can't we? I was going to say.
We fast forward the pause?
Yeah, we'll fast forward this bit here, because I'll put you on the spot.
Sorry. Surprise moment in this series is that at one stage it's going to feel like India can win the series. That's going to be the surprise.
That's like a bit of a surprise.
Yeah. At one
I was really hoping you were going to say Kohli retiring us after 2 test matches or something like that.
Kohli retires after 2 test matches or something like that.
There's the headline for the
I think we will get retirements from this series, though. Who? But I don't know which side.
Yeah. There is a major non-cricket incident.
Is Steve Smith going to mark his card while Virat Kohli's
There
coming out
is
to
a major non-cricket incident.
That feels like not shocked though. That feels like that's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
In a series. No, it's part of the fun, right?
Okay, so Virat Kohli or Usman Khawaja is going to retire at the end of the series.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just making that up. But you asked for something.
I did ask for a shock. A surprise. There we go.
Marnus Labuschagne is going to retire. Marnus Labuschagne is going to join the boy band.
Leading wicket taker, Marnus Labuschagne.
He's going to be leading wicket taker from a boy band.
yeah. Okay. Happy with that, guys?
Have you asked who's actually going to win?
No. Is that important? No. Probably is, isn't it? I should do that again. We can edit this, can't we?
That's fine, yeah.
And final one, guys. Obviously, most importantly, predictions, please. What's the actual score going to be, guys?
Oh, okay. 4-1 Australia.
I'm not arguing with that.
Yeah, 4-1 Australia. I think everyone's going to 4 Australia.
I think the only difference is I'm doing 4-1 based on I don't know when Mohammad Shami will come in. If Mohammad Shami came back, I'd be a little bit more interested in India instantly.
You think he's that important to this team?
I don't like their second or third fast bowler.
Who will it be? Will
Put
it
him
be-
and Bumrah together and I'm like, now we have a bit of an attack.
So, assuming they go 2 spinners, right, and 3 quicks, obviously Brummer's one of the quicks. If Shami isn't fit, who will the other 2 be, do you think?
It'll be probably Siraj and Akashdeep, but Prashid Krishna looked pretty good in the A games as well.
4-1, that's a bit extravagant.
He's worked back his own. He said, I'm not arguing with that. He's like, maybe I should argue with
I
that.
thought Shami could play all. I think so. Got to go.
Nil India.
Oh god, this has been fun, hasn't it? I tell you what, cricket on the talkSPORT network. I mean, India, New Zealand nailed that, didn't we? Well done. Good work from you, by the way. Yeah, I think we did. I didn't. You did. West Indies, England. Bumble, you were there, weren't you, for the ODIs? Nailed it.
Briefly,
Brilliant.
yeah.
Cricket never stops, does it, on the talkSPORT network, because we're a week or so away from New Zealand versus England. It's a 3-test match series. England last one in New Zealand in a test match series back in 2008. They've been there 4 times since then. 2 draws and 2 series victories for New Zealand in that time. Why, Bumble, do you think England have struggled in New Zealand over the past 14, 15 years?
It'd be interesting how many, when you said draws, how many test matches? There'd be 2, maximum 3, probably 2.
So there was a 0-0 draw.
Yeah.
That was a 3-test match series in 2012. New Zealand won a 2-match series 1-0, another 2-match series 1-0, and there was a 1-1 draw last time we went.
That in the series, 2 matches. Anyway, this is 3. And New Zealand on an absolute crest of a wave, having just beaten India. Southee is going to retire after this. Where are the 3 matches? They're at Christchurch, they're at Wellington at the Basin Reserve and at Hamilton. You have a chance of results. I just want to know how many dropping pitches. Are they all dropping pitches? Is there just maybe Hamilton? Will that Hamilton be a dropping pitch? So a dropping pitch, what I'm getting at, a dropping pitch, you definitely need a balanced attack. And you might flip what you do because it'll start damp and you might want a ball, but it will spin. And so you've got to cover all bases and not just think, oh, we don't need a spinner. You do. You definitely need a spinner. England have taken 3 spinners. And so it's how they can cope with that first match at Christchurch, because they won't have had any real warm-up matches. They won't have got acclimate adapted.
2024 Bumble, that was so stupid.
Yeah, that's it.
A warm-up match.
And these matches will come thick and fast.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be saying England are going to win that series. New Zealand, I would expect, would be favourites. But I want to, for me, I want to look at these pitches. I want to analyse these pitches. I want to hear what our guys out there, Harmison's out there, isn't he? What he thinks of these pitches, because I think that will be quite instrumental as to how the game will go and what teams are selected, particularly for England, because they've got the seamers, they've got 3 spinners. Who are the spinners? They've got Jack Leach,
and Ryan Ahmed.
And so they've got to get the selection right, because if they're dropping pitches, you'll need your spin back end of the game.
And New Zealand just favourites for this series?
Yeah, I think they should be favourites for this. Yeah, I mean, one team's coming off beating India, and the other team couldn't beat Pakistan and Pakistan. I know completely different conditions and everything else, but certainly vibes-based, you would go with New Zealand at the moment. And based on the fact that you just said that England have taken some good teams over and haven't had success before.
Oh, McCullum as well. McCullum going back there, so there's a bit of added incentive for New Zealand.
Also, England gave that series away last time, right? They
1-1 win, wasn't it?
Yeah, they wanted the moral victory, and they got the moral victory, and they lost the actual chance of winning that series. So England really let themselves go. At that stage, you have what? Kugelijn and whatever the other bloke was bowler. You're not going to get that this time.
Yeah.
They've got a better bowling line. As long as they can keep their fast bowlers fit, you know, O'Rourke is a really good bowler.
No, Matt Henry a couple of years ago. Either.
Matt Henry is obviously one of the world's best bowlers at the moment. Tim Southee wants to go out on a high. You know, the problem is the Jamieson Sears. Like I think New Zealand would like one more seamer to be there, but they've, you know, I think this is a better side than England played last time.
Yeah,
It is. Oh,
and they got Kane Williamson's come back in. Through didn't play in India, obviously as well.
Yeah, so I think there's some good signs for New Zealand in this, but you know, I think if I'm the England team, I'm like, we gave away a whole series win last time by trying to be too cute. Let's just try and nail them this time.
Is there even more pressure on England because they lost in Pakistan? I mean, to go a winter without winning away from home would be tough, wouldn't it?
I mean, it's the name of the game. You've got to win. And we hear so much about Bazball. He doesn't like it, as we know. But he's going back home. And so he will want the performance from what is now his team, England. England need to correct what they did last time around. But they're against, I think, that you don't go to India and win 3-0 if you're no good. They'll be well organised, they'll be well captained. They're better off with Williamson in the team in Test match cricket. He'll bat long. And forget Bazball, Williamson won't play Bazball, he'll bat long to get them in a position for his bowlers to bowl. And you know, I always found it fascinating when I'm looking at these pitches. Now, they're going to play the second Test match at the Basin Reserve. It's one of the most iconic grounds in world cricket. It's a roundabout in the middle of Wellington. It's a roundabout.
Did you not know that?
It's a huge...
It's a rally.
And, you know, everything about it is steeped in history. And so you've that to contend with as well. And at Wellington, somebody's going to bowl into a hell of a gale. Somebody's got to bowl into that.
Yeah.
And so they will be used to doing that, New Zealand. England will have to get used to it very, very quickly. And having first hand, you can't have one player said, I ain't bowling at that end. Somebody's got to do it from that end.
Someone just gets the bad job. It's also worth saying that England probably still have some players that are not in great form at the moment, that there are question marks over.
So is the big question mark over Ollie Pope at number 3?
Yeah, so Ollie Pope. Whereas New Zealand, their big question is, can we fit Will Young into the side, who was just player of the series or whatever it was? And it's like, if Williamson comes back, maybe we can't fit him in. Like, those are two very different question marks, right? You've got one team who's like, how do we fit all of our batters in? The other team's like, is our number 3 any good?
Are England right to persevere with Ollie Pope at number 3?
I don't think he's a number 3. I don't think he'll ever be a number 3. I just don't think it's his spot. So I think he's been given that position because no one else can do it. And at times he's played some brilliant innings, but overall, I think if they wanted consistent runs out of him, he has to bat further down the order.
And you were saying this England team at the moment, given Roots at 4, Brooks at 5, Stokes is at 6.
There's no way.
He's either batting at 3 or he's being dropped, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's a bit of chatter. Why doesn't Stokes bat 3? Only a little bit of chat, nothing more than that.
Did you just start at them?
No, I would
Let's start.
Bumble says
Stokes, sport exclusive.
not playing. Smith's not
Cox is
there.
going to go at 7 and 2.
So we're going back to, can you keep wicket? Well, I don't rate, well, you can now. So he's at 7, Cox. Not shown so far. The big raps, they talk a lot about him, Jordan Cox, to be that number 7 wicket-keeper batsman. And he has to play in a certain way from Bazball. He has to play in a certain way. That's why Fawkes has been jettisoned, because he doesn't play in a certain way. So that 7 has got to take care of 8, 9, 10, 11. So 8 and 9, I should think, in this series will be quite competent. 8 and 9 will be Wokes and Atkinson.
Or Wokes and Carse even.
And Carse is up there, he's a chance of playing. Yeah. But then I'm coming back to, are you going to play 1 spinner? Or are you going to balance it all completely and play 2? Is Stokes bowling? Can Stokes be your 3rd seamer, play 2 spinners?
If he's your 3rd seamer,
Yes.
can you bat him at number 3 as well?
No, probably not. But as I say, it's on social media. I didn't start it.
But do you think, just on Ben Stokes, the batsman, do you think he's got the game to score more runs than number 3 than Ollie Pope?
No.
Okay.
I think he would struggle there as well. I don't think either of them are made to bat at number 3.
This is the big question then.
I think at the
Who
most,
should bat for England?
I think-
Is there anybody?
I think, and Bumble will know this, traditionally there are 2 schools of thoughts with number 3s, right? It used to be your best bat, so your Viv Richards, your Ricky Ponting type player,
Jonathan Trott.
or it used to be a backup opener,
Okay.
right? And with the wobble ball and low averages around the world, right, and it's harder and harder to face the new ball at the moment than it has been. Like statistically, it's crazy how hard it is to face the new ball. I think you're better off to have a backup opener at 3 than you are. The problem with England is they don't always have openers.
Lawrence opened in the summer when there was no Crawley.
So that's the issue with England's side of things, which I mean, Australia's just done the same thing we talked about in the other series. There aren't that many openers who are making any runs anywhere because Kookaburra changed this ball and everyone's struggling all around the world.
One more potential theory that could happen after this series. If, I know it's a big if, Cox goes well at 7 with the gloves, Smith is obviously going to come back into the team. Could Jamie Smith be the number 3 long term?
Option.
As opposed to what
It's an
I'm just
option.
going.
It's an option. It is. But again, you're looking. I know you've got to be an aggressive player in this England lineup. But I've known a lot of aggressive players. 2 notables who would be Brian Lara and Vivian Richards. Very aggressive players. Top defence. They could stop a ball. I'm not sure that Ollie Pope is that type of player. I agree with him. I don't think he's a 3. He might be slotted in at 5 or 6. Hang on, can he keep wicket?
Ollie Pope can keep wicket, can't he? Yeah.
And he goes sorted. Hasn't he kept wicket
In Pakistan.
I think he did it in New Zealand as well, didn't he? On one of those tours.
There we go.
He definitely kept in Pakistan.
There you go. So he's a New Zealand specialist keeper. He's fine. Fine.
There we go.
Perfect, sorted. And just one name we haven't mentioned yet to maybe bat 3 is actually the backup bat in the squad, and that's Jacob Bethel. Who is going to New Zealand and the bat.
Not a 3.
He is not. That is not.
Again, I mean, I refer back to one of Australia's best players over a period of time was Michael Clarke. When Michael Clarke got into that team, he was 6.
Yeah.
And they said, we'll go put this kid, Pup, nickname Pup, slot him at 6 and he'll move up. That's how you do it. With a young kid,
Ponting started at 6.
of course, you know,
Was England to go the other way? They get them in the 3, and then they go.
But equally, like Viv Richards would be at 3, might have finished up at number 5 and number 6.
did.
Clive Lloyd, captain of the side.
He went number 6.
We've got 4 out. Christ, look who's coming in now.
Yeah.
At number 6. So they did it a bit different because of the lineup that they got.
Do you know what, Bumble? Jarrod always has a solution for everything, doesn't he? He's always positive about everything. This whole England number 3 thing, I've never seen you so negative. You basically got no answer for me, do you?
I've got no answer for you.
No, but we've done this for 5 minutes, and between the pair of you, you have absolutely no idea if you're bat 3 for England, do you really?
Do you remember when Ben Jones from Crickfizz used to say Chris Woke should bat at number 3? Like,
I'm not I'm not.
that's kind of the situation that they're back in again, right? Hopefully Duckett makes a lot of runs.
A 3, maybe. Well, Keaton Jennings comes back in. I mean,
Keaton Jennings he'll do.
Oh, there we go. That's even me. Is he still doing stuff at Nottingham?
He's playing in the 100, wasn't he, recently? Like, I mean, I never thought I saw Keaton Jennings in the 100.
We did a previous video on the YouTube channel about underrated cricketers. Tim Southee is.
I thought you were going to do overrated cricketers there. You are, aren't you?
No, I wasn't. Does Tim Southee maybe fall in the underrated bracket? I mean, you look at his numbers and what he's done for New Zealand. Does he maybe not get enough love because for so much of his career, Bumble, he had Trent Bolt at the other end?
I suppose outside of New Zealand, yeah, but in New Zealand, they've got him as one of their all-time greats.
They're a bit more.
No,
They're not that sure about him.
Oh, you know, I've just seen some stuff on social media recently that says he's up there, and his stats will tell you he is.
I think there's mixed feelings about him in New Zealand. There was always the thought that he got to go when other bowlers might have been able to.
I'll tell you what, he's a bloody good bowler.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
I do think he's underrated. So I think he averages 29 in Test cricket over 15 years or however long he's been playing.
That's
380 odd wickets, right?
Okay.
And I looked at the average of all the seamers in the games that he played in, and it was 32. So he's 2 runs better than like just a normal seamer, but for 15 years. And talking about bowling into the wind, he's going to bowl into the wind. He's going to bowl the dog spells quite a bit.
Yes.
You know, all that sort of stuff that he did. He was the stock bowler when they had, you know, Wagner and Bolt and Jamieson attacking at the other end. He was part of the best bowling attack New Zealand have ever had. So I do think he is underrated as a player altogether. But, you know, when Trent Bolt is your bowling partner and Neil Wagner has a great period and then Kyle Jamieson comes from nowhere, like there's a reason. He's almost one of modern cricket's best stock bowlers, but we don't. You know, it's a bit like we were talking about Callis in that other video, right? Like you're a stock bowler, and at the other end you've got Trent Bolt swinging the ball sideways at 90 miles an hour, and you've got Neil Wagner bowling 83 bounces and all that sort of stuff. You probably get a little bit lost. So I think Tim Southee's got a little bit lost in New Zealand or in global cricket at times, but incredibly dependable. And to know that, imagine if I said to you, for the next 15 years, you don't have to worry about your second opening bowler. Like, that's perfect.
That's a nice place to be, right?
Yeah.
One thing for certain though, Bumble, and we'll round off with this. This is going to be a seriously good series, isn't it?
Very good series.
And it's not 2 test matches, which is good.
I think, does it start at 10 o'clock at night?
10 p.m.
UK time,
Yeah.
10 o'clock. That's demanding.
What's your pattern going to be? Are you going to watch the first session and sleep? Are you going to record it?
I certainly won't be watching the first session.
You're in bed by 10?
Oh, in bed by 10, I'm in bed by 8.
No, you're not in bed at 8.
I'm in bed by 8.
So you're not watching I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here?
What's that?
In the jungle.
I thought Bumble was on it.
Have you ever been asked to do any jungle or Strictly Come Dancing or?
Might have been.
talkSPORT exclusive.
Which one?
No, there was a tentative inquiry but
About
absolute no. The other one, eating worms and whatever. Like, oh Christ, no.
Oh, why not?
Don't be silly. And dancing, no, come on.
He didn't want to. 2025, guys, is starting off with. I'm going to call it a major event, Jarrod. But
Continue.
it's not a World Cup, but it's still major-ish. I mean, it's not a bilateral series,
Well,
is
it's
it?
either major or it's not major. And you've already said major-ish.
Can we call the Champions Trophy a major? To
It's like the AFL trophy.
Then it's not major.
We've cancelled this tournament like 2 times. It can't be that.
What are you most looking forward to? The EFL Trophy or the Champions Trophy?
AFL trophy.
Okay, then it's not a major. I'm really, really sorry.
England Football League.
Oh.
Yeah. Football League.
Okay.
Football
Bumble
League.
team plays, isn't it?
Trophy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See how quickly I lost interest.
Yeah, I've never seen you look so bored before. So we've got the Champions Trophy in 2025, and it's going to be in Pakistan. And we learned around a week or so ago.
Maybe.
Well, but yeah, good question. Potentially, it's supposed to be in Pakistan, isn't it? And we learned a week or so ago that India have told the ICC they're not going to be playing any matches in Pakistan. We know, of course, there's political tensions between India and Pakistan, and we also know, apart from the World Cups, India and Pakistan do not play each other in cricket matches. Jarrod, I'll start with you. When India tell the ICC we are not going to play in Pakistan, when that piece of information gets related, what do you then think should happen? What should be the next logical step?
I think the conversation is then, does Pakistan want to move the game? And as far as I understand at the moment, they're suggesting they don't.
So when you say move it, you mean they just forfeit the tournament?
No. So is Pakistan willing to play India outside of India, I think is... outside. Is Pakistan willing to play India outside of Pakistan is the first question.
So India play their Champions Trophy games in the UAE, for argument's sake?
For instance, yes. Because I think that's fair to... Pakistan are the hosts, and it's a very important game to Pakistan as well. Right? This isn't just an important game to India or to the ICC, it's important to Pakistan.
It's their first global tournament since '96.
Exactly. So they should be asked and be given that. And then they have the option then to be like, actually, no, we want this to be played. And if it's going to be played, it's going to be played at home. That's up to them. They're the hosts. They were given the hosting rights, right? Like, India had as much say in Pakistan getting the hosting as anyone else. Like, we talk about how much power India has within cricket. Well, Pakistan is hosting the Champions Trophy, right? So Pakistan got this option. So they should have been... ICC should have gone to them and said, India's not going to come, which we all knew from the start. Like this, it's such a... The problem with all this is it's taken months/years for this decision when we all know it from the start. India was never going to be able to go. The BCCI is so involved with BJP, the major Indian political party. They were never going to allow them to go to Pakistan and allow this to happen. So it was never going to happen. We all knew that, fine. It's taken too long to get to this point. But you have to go to Pakistan and say, this is an important game for you. Are you willing to move it? And if Pakistan say no, then the same thing should happen to the points as would normally happen when Australia and the West Indies refused to go to Sri Lanka, when England refused to go to Kenya, was it, in 2003 World Cup? Those teams got the points. I think that's a normal way that this will go. The reason it won't do that is the Champions Trophy only exists for one reason, Sam, when that is so India and Pakistan can play each other. It's the only reason this tournament
Is that genuinely true?
It is the only reason this tournament exists. So that is the complication here. And that's why we're in a situation where all these other things could happen.
Is it that India are not going to Pakistan, period? Or
They're not going to go at all.
They're not going to go at all?
No.
So
They were never going to go.
So this is a political decision?
Yes. It's not a cricket
It's
decision.
not the BCCI and a cricket in pure cricket, because the other thing is that everybody would understand that the players, the cricketers of Pakistan and India get on fine.
They get on really well.
Get on really well.
Yeah.
So from then Pakistan's point of view
I mean, I'm not saying there aren't Indian players who might not want to go as well, because we've seen that before as well.
And you've got an option as a player. I'm sorry, I don't want to go.
So Stuart McGill pulled out of a tour to Zimbabwe once for political reasons, not for safety reasons, for political reasons. So we've seen people do stuff like that before as well. And again, as far as everyone talked about it at the time, but it's not a blight on Stuart McGill's career. He had politics and he didn't believe in what Zimbabwe were doing, so he didn't go there.
Weren't England under Nasser Hussain stopped from going to Zimbabwe?
I thought it was Kenya in 2003.
Might have been that.
Yeah, I can't remember if they ever didn't play Zimbabwe, but there was certainly a lot of political pressure with Zimbabwe, so you might be right.
When Nasser
You're the expert on Zimbabwe-England relations, so.
Well, I was out of it at that stage. But it's a political decision, and we would always say that sport and politics shouldn't mix. So what should happen? You forfeit. If you're not going to the country, surely you can't be in the competition, can you?
You think as soon as they say we're not playing in Pakistan, that's it, they're out?
Yeah, I think so, because they've made a decision that round the table, all the governing bodies, that this Champions Trophy is going to be in Pakistan.
Yep.
Did India at that stage say, hang on, we're not going?
So my theory, and I had talked to some insiders on this, but my theory is that there was a small amount of hope that India were willing to think about going, right? And when I was told that by people in the know, I said, they're not going. And we all know they're not going.
But that's political. It's a political government who's saying, we aren't going.
Essentially, yes. And it's not, I think the Indian blind team was scheduled to go to Pakistan and they've just pulled out. There have been teams from India sporting teams from India who played in Pakistan in the last little while. So it has happened before, and they have got incredible security and everything else. But yeah, when it comes down to it, that's what it is. But the problem is that the Champions Trophy, as I said, exists for one game.
Yeah, you said, yeah.
And then on the back end of that, India is the most important team, right? So there's no point playing the Champions Trophy if India isn't playing. That's where the ICC have got themselves into such a tangle.
But so having listened to the both of you, the question and the answer, in my own mind, this Champions Trophy is in Pakistan.
Yep.
One team says we ain't going, fine, we'll carry on with all the other teams. Simple, isn't it?
But then the other argument would be it's India.
There isn't another argument. It's in this Champions
If we're talking about
Trophy,
cricket, there's no other argument, is there?
There isn't. This Champions Trophy is in Pakistan. You've all agreed it's in Pakistan.
Yeah.
We're not going. Fine.
Yeah. So
Throw India out of the tournament and carry on with
Carry
that.
on.
that would be how it would be done in a normal world.
That's what I'm saying.
But we're not in
because
that
it's
world.
cricket, because it's India.
Yeah.
Can you really see a situation where you just get? It's not going to happen, is it? Right?
It is much more likely that Pakistan lose the entire tournament than it is that India don't play in it.
The whole tournament.
The entire tournament. Because what Pakistan are now saying is, wait a minute, we signed up for this, they've changed their mind, why should we have to do this? Now it's causing a rift. Also, there's the whole UAE thing and everything else. But also, there was a rumor that South Africa was going to be hosting the tournament.
I heard that on social media.
So we're not social media rumors, it only Bumble. I mean, I heard it from not social media, so it's not just a made-up thing. South Africa was sounded out, I believe, to see if they could have the grounds ready.
And do they?
It's February. They should be okay by that point.
Jarrod, Sam, if India say we ain't going to Pakistan have to back down to say we're going to the UAE.
Yes.
They're backing down. They ain't doing that either.
Well, this is the problem. The new chairman of PCB, who's made, they've had 8 coaches in the last, they've had 8 press releases about 6 different coaches in the last week.
I've read that.
Yeah. So he plays a lot of shots, this guy. He's saying we want to do it, but they're talking about the CAS. Do you guys know what that is? It's basically the Court of Arbitration of Sport, right? So Pakistan are talking about taking it beyond cricket. The issue is that this game is actually really important for Pakistan as well, though. All right, and India isn't coming. We just have to accept that India is not going to be going to Pakistan, right? Whether they get kicked out of the tournament, they don't play or whatever, we have to accept that they're not going there. But this game is equally important for Pakistan because Pakistan's last chip, really, is that they are the other half on the most important game in cricket, right? And they've never played that chip before, right? They have an option now to be able to say, no, we're hosting the tournament, and we will play India, but but we're going to do it on our terms in the way that we want to do it. They've never played that chip before, and realistically, they're not. England and Australia still have slightly more power in cricket than Pakistan do. That may not be the case in 10 or 15 years' time, but it is at the moment. And within that, Pakistan's main thing is this game. So they've never used that as a political chip before. India have used, their muscle before, but Pakistan has never really come in. This is the first time that they could say, no, you're making all this money off the Champions Trophy, and a big chunk of that money is because we play India in this tournament, right? And it's not the only tournament we've had this. There was the Asia Cup recently, which also only exists so India can play Pakistan, and that ended up half of it being played in Sri Lanka as well. So it has happened before, and they did. That time, they went with the flow because it was more important for them to play India than to not play India. But they could go the other way.
Will they though?
I don't know. As I said, he's a new chairman, and he's obviously very nationalistic, and he's very upset at this situation. And he's probably looking at it the same way that Bumble is at the moment, going, "You guys all agreed to come out here.
Don't 2 months before don't pull out,
You
right?
didn't want to play. If this wasn't going to happen, why didn't you pull out a year ago, or tell us a year ago? Like, why wait till the last minute?" And I think that's more than acceptable. This decision has taken far too long for what we knew was they were never going to go. They were never, from the moment we all heard this tournament was going to be played in Pakistan,
They ain't good.
none of us ever thought India. No one who knew world cricket thought that India was going to play.
But you genuinely think that if the Pakistan Cricket Board sticks to their guns and say, no, it's all in Pakistan, we are not moving anything, and then India don't go, you genuinely think that the ICC will then take the tournament away from Pakistan just so India play in it?
I think
it's impossible this tournament happens without India
Yeah,
because of it's India.
it's India, yeah. India is more important than Pakistan.
Yeah.
And when it comes down to it, I think they would do that. That's when maybe the CAS get back involved, and we get into a very interesting legal.
So the Pakistan say, well, we're not going.
and that is the chip,
Sure, yeah, that's what
right? Because then you say, okay, we know how much the India-Pakistan game is worth in the Champions Trophy.
We're not going.
We're not going to go. Now what do? And I think what the ICC would be like, well, we'll still make more money having India not play Pakistan.
Because India, Australia, India, England, India, South Africa are all still really, I know it's not Pakistan, but they're all still really big games, aren't they?
Yeah, but I think
Because it's India.
I think that other game's probably
Bigger, sure, but the games I mentioned are still important games, right?
They are.
They're still sexy games, the Champions Trophy.
yeah, but there's a difference between 1 billion people watching one game and a couple of 100 million. There
Sure.
really is. I mean, the finances of those games are just so ridiculous.
Massive.
Right? It outweighs everything. Oh, look, I haven't done a deep dive into the Champions Trophy, but my guess is it's probably worth almost half the tournament for one game.
Right.
Right? And so if you take that out,
Yeah.
it's not safe.
Well,
What would you do, Sam?
Well, having listened to everything you guys have just said, I think the most reasonable, the thing that's going to happen here is I just think India are going to play all of their matches in the UAE.
I think
so. I think Pakistan will still get 95% of the tournament, but it seems to me the logical resolution here is that India will play all the games in the UAE.
And I think what Pakistan
I'm not
will
saying that's right, Bumble, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not fair on Pakistan, but that's what's going to happen.
I think the most logical thing is also Pakistan asked for the full hosting fee. And I know that's a little thing, but like if I was them, I'd say, no, okay, you guys can pay out of your own pocket for the UAE games. We signed up for this. We want the full hosting fee. And then we are willing to go and play, because then Pakistan don't lose out on any money.
They still get the full revenue.
Yeah, so I think that is something that will happen. Yeah.
Which player from before the IPL era could break the record at an IPL auction?
I think we're both going to have the same player, but I'll let him say it.
Tony Gregg?
Well, Tony Gregg certainly would have marketed himself quite well.
He would. Charisma. He got everything. Hit it. Ball spin. Ball quick. But he'd be everybody's darling. He'd be everybody's villain. He'd be perfect.
But it's not him, is it?
Like, was he Macron?
I think he's also high up on the list, but it's not him, is it?
Go on then.
It's Garfield Sobers.
Oh, God. I mean, crikey. How are we going that? Oh, yeah.
Anyone? What the hell was from before the IPL auction?
In the history.
Callis.
Well, Kel's played at the
Rabada. Garfield Sobers. Yeah, Gary Sobers.
He would, I think, if you did an auction from the history of Test cricket,
Gary Sobers.
right, Sobers would be the #1 IPL player of all time. Because, so how much do you know about Sobers? And it's okay if you don't, because you're like,
No, genuine gun all-rounder. I know a lot, yeah.
but he's not just a gun all-rounder. He could take. He's a left arm bowler.
All right.
Genuine.
no, I'm wrong there.
Genuine. He's pretty good. Handy cricketer. We all liked him. He could take the new ball and he bowls with the left arm, which everyone loves. He could also come back and bowl left arm finger spin. If he was bowling to left-handers, he could bowl left arm wrist spin, and he could bat any position from 1 to 7 and hit sixes.
And fielded like an absolute dream.
And field in every position.
Yeah.
So you're simply going Garfield Sobers.
Garfield Sobers would break every single IPL record if he was available.
That's fair.
Yep.
But my fella would be up there, Greg.
Tony Gregg is quite an interesting one because he
real-
could bowl spin and pace as well.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it. And just the charisma of the bloke. He would get it.
Yeah.
He would get the whole tournament. He'd be here, there, and everywhere. As I say, he'd be everybody's darling, he'd be everybody's villain. You want him on your team, you don't want to play against him.
Also, like he would have his own. If Tony Gregg came through now, he would have his own podcast and his own YouTube channel with 7 million subscribers, and also there would be 7 million advertisers to go with all those subscribers. Like he would get it in such a level. So you got those guys. I think of the Indian players, Kapil Dev. Kapil Dev in his peak would probably be second to Sobers, just because again he fits perfectly in T20 cricket.
Absolutely perfect.
And then you've got, I would put Australian Keith Miller, would be a perfect T20 player, would have been an absolute star. And I'm not sure how seriously he would have taken a Bumble, but if he did take it seriously, he would have started. Beefy is another one.
I think England player would be number one.
He couldn't
stand T20. He could. No, it's not cricket, this.
I don't think he even took one-day cricket seriously.
No, he didn't. No.
So, but would he take it a little bit more seriously if the Ambani family came with a briefcase full of cash?
I was going to say, yeah.
The answer to that is yes.
You quickly go, actually, this T20 like is not too
But
bad.
that's my point. You know, Sunil Gavaskar once blocked out an ODI game. You know about
Yes,
it?
yes, you
the
do.
first ever World
Yes, you
Cup
do.
game, they were chasing 300.
Yeah,
It was a
not
60
having
over
it.
game.
Not having it.
And he went, oh, this is pointless. We can't chase 600. And he made 36 not out off 130 balls or something, right?
Harbour net.
And everyone's like, oh, he would never have liked T20 cricket. If you had gone to Sunil Gavaskar and said, you're going to captain an IPL franchise and make $5 million a year, Sunil Gavaskar would have been like, I'm the best T20 player in the world. I'm going to do everything I can to be a star in this format. Same with Boycott. Boycott used to bowl a little bit. Did you know that? He bowled for England in World Cup.
With his cap on, back to front.
Yep. Village. Yeah. Oh my God. It's called Boycott Village.
Or bowling with your hand backwards.
It's really.
Even I know that's village.
So,
And filthy in swing. They were dirty, horrible, wide of the crease, all splayed.
it wasn't good. It wasn't good. But the point being, Boycott in this day and age would be working on his bowling all the time, and again would have tried to get himself into the IPL. So you've got all those sorts of guys. But Sobers is out. If you want to go through all the greatest attacking players of all time, obviously Viv Richards would be pretty high up on any list.
That's it.
Brian Lara would
Clive
be another
Lloyd.
one. Clive Lloyd would have been a great player. You would have got him as Rover
And on and on and on.
Victor Trumper, the old Australian player.
But the bowlers at the moment, they're in the IPL, are they the ones going for the real big money?
Bowlers.
The quick bowlers? I mean, we saw last year Stark and Cummins break it both in the same
Yeah,
auction.
and you got to remember, sometimes when you break the record in the smaller cycle, it's because a team just needs a bowler, and two teams are going after the same bowlers. It goes up, so it's a little bit different. But Wasim Akram, Curtly Ambrose, and I think the greatest limited overs bowler of all time is probably still Joel Garner, although Bummer is coming for his title. Joel Garner would go for an amazing amount of running. I think the Joel Garner's economy rate in ODI cricket is like 3.1, and his bowling average is 18.
That's healthy, isn't it?
I think he'd be okay in T20 cricket.
One name you haven't mentioned, though. How would this guy get on? David Bumble Lloyd.
Don't think he's getting in. What league would you have played in Bumble? I reckon you would have been okay in the BPL. Left arm finger spin, left hander, low scoring league.
I'd be quite careful.
All right, you're not getting an IPL kick then, Mo.
No, IPL league. He would have played league
No,
cricket.
the best job in the IPL, I've watched this, I've been fascinated. The best job, mentor. What a job that is.
How have you never been a mentor?
I've never, just sit on that bench with them. No, here, lad, get yourself out there, hit it for 6, hit it into the crowd, every other ball, don't get out. And all you've got to do, you don't get out. When you're bowling, just knock all them stumps out of the ground, don't get it for 4 or 6. Off you go.
And they've all got a pen and paper, don't they?
Yeah.
And they're not actually writing anything down, are they?
Yeah.
They're just making
Mentor.
noughts and
You
crosses
say
out,
that
aren't
the
they?
coaches have pen and paper. Not all the mentors are sitting there writing.
Everyone's got a pen and paper and they're just having a little scribble along. aren't they?
Mentor. What a job that is.
Who would have been of the older players? Who would have been the best mentor?
Well, I noticed that Sachin was a mentor.
But he played in the IPL.
Yeah, he did. And when he finished, he became mentor.
Viv Richards was a mentor.
Mentor, yeah.
Morney, I think, was a mentor.
Yeah. I mean, it is your ultimate gizzard job. Gizzard job, come on, I can do that.
Would Beefy, wigs out in India. No, would Beefy have been a good mentor?
No. You've got to understand, Beefy didn't like cricket for a start. So I don't. What am I doing here? We've only been there 10 minutes. What am I doing here? What am I doing?
Sobers?
Yeah, I think Gary would be more of a golf man.
Yeah, he would help them on the golf course.
Yeah, he would be, more inclined to be at the golf.
Tony Gregg would have been a mentor, but he also would have had an official job.
You get some who are real cricket badgers that are there all the time. I would guess. I might be absolutely wrong. I would guess that an affectionate term of the cricket badger would be Adam Gilchrist. He seems a bit of a badger on cricket. But like Beefy, no, crikey. Look, I get a bottle of wine here, get a restaurant, get out of the golf club, go fishing. Cricket, no.
Oh, I've got another player we missed, actually, because Gilchrist did play in the IPL, but one who didn't was Lance Klusener.
Oh, there's another.
Remember Lance Klusener?
Yeah.
So Lance Klusener basically changed batting because he's the first guy to come in and do range hitting.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's getting him up,
And he was massive.
Yeah.
Check out the '99 World Cup. I think he was dismissed once in that World Cup or twice, and still had a strike rate of 130 at a time when no one was doing that. And I think he was the 4th leading wicket taker in that tournament as well. Incredible player. Very, very. I think he goes for a lot of money in that. There's probably a few of those big, strong all-rounders who weren't like random players you've never heard of, like Gary Gilmore, who in their peak would have been really great IPL players and better in T20 cricket than they were in the other formats.
Yeah.
We look back, looking ahead, recording this a few days away from that mega auction. Who's going? Is anything? What's going to be the big move?
What's the word on the street?
Yeah,
what's the word on the street?
What's the word on the street? Is a record going to be broken? What are you going to be talking about in a few days' time, Jarrod?
Josh Butler is interesting to me.
Well, go on, why?
Because his franchise moved on from him because they've got a lot of Indian batting. And
Are you surprised they moved on from him?
I just think that the league's wrong. If you have to move on from Josh Butler, it means that if you're a good team, you should be able to keep Josh Butler. And the fact that they haven't shows that there's a problem within the structure of how they're keeping players, right? Not having to go at the Royals, but just, I don't know, do you know the rule that they changed where if you hadn't played for India anymore, you now count as uncapped? So MS Dhoni could stay with CSK. Like, they're changing the rules as they're going. They should have a rule like that for Josh Butler as well. I think Josh Butler is interesting because if you think he's still in his prime, he's worth an absolute fortune, isn't he? But the player I'm really interested in, and I hope goes for the most money, is Jake Fraser-McGurk. So he's the first player
Most money, though.
He's the first player we've ever seen who could score at 2 runs a ball, right? And he's been in terrible form, and he doesn't look like that player.
He's been in bad form, hasn't he, the last couple of months?
There isn't another batter in the world who can win a game in 6 overs the way that Jake Fraser-McGurk can. So I think...
Josh Butler could.
Not in 6 overs, not these days. He works his way into his innings a little bit more, doesn't he?
He's got he can go through the gears, though, Butler, if he needs to.
Yeah,
Right?
going through the gears. Jake Fraser-McGurk has no gears. He starts in 8th gear, which is why sometimes he's not really going at all.
Jake Fraser-McGurk, Bumble. That's a shout and a half. Jarrod.
So I could see teams who aren't particularly smart just going, we have to put everything we can into getting this guy because he's 22, 23. They call him the Brewster. He's already got his own branding, right? He bats in a way where he thinks he's playing baseball. It could all go horribly wrong, but he also could get a huge amount of money.
Any of these young England batters who are going to break into IPL who haven't played there before? Jacob Bethel?
I'm really interested about Bethel as well, because he might be the best fielder in the world. I don't know. Have we talked about that yet? The Bethel might be the best fielder going around as well. And he can bowl a little bit. He could go for a lot. What do you think of Mosley?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's okay.
It's a weird bowling style, though, isn't it?
I mean, if he can bat and bowl and hit it into the crowd, you've a chance. You've got every chance.
Phil Salt's available as well, again, isn't he?
Yeah, he wasn't picked up at KK.
I would be paying a lot of money for Phil Salt.
Why?
Because again, in 6 overs, he can completely change the game. And most of the other players who can change a game in 6 overs have been retained. So Head and Abhishek Sharma and all those sorts of guys. But Fraser-McGurk and Salt are the 2 that we know that can do that. And Salt is the one that you trust, and Fraser-McGurk is the one that you hope.
Can Salt play red ball cricket for England? There's one for you. Can Salt?
Are you going to bat him at first drop?
No.
I think about a 3 you can play for England.
No, bat him at 7 and Smith at 3. Anyway.
No, in terms of Indian players as well,
Yep.
that are available, who could go for the most in terms of the Indian players?
I think Arshdeep Singh might go for the most. I'm a bit shocked that his franchise didn't just give him the bag. So he was on like 4 crore, which You know, if you're an Indian fan, you understand what I'm talking about. But it's not a huge amount of money. Like 10, 12 is when you start to get to the real money. And I think Arshdeep Singh is a left-arm seamer who has been fairly successful throughout his entire career and is 24, 25. Just give him the bag and hope that works. But maybe they're being, you know, so him, Siraj, Ashwin are three players. And Shreyas Iyer was the captain of the...
One of us. KKR, yeah,
he was captain of your side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Side, yeah.
As a KKR fan, how do you feel about the fact they haven't retained their own captain?
I thought it was incredibly bizarre, given that he literally lifted the competition last season. I thought absolutely insane.
And he's an Indian player?
And it's, 100%. It was really, really bizarre.
I don't think he's a great T20 player, so I kind of get it from that perspective.
He didn't go out with the bat last year.
No.
He really struggled with the bat.
I think he'll go for a lot of money.
Who's going to finish up in the bin? The crikey.
Okay, so just to any England players that could not get, so I'm looking at someone like, look, I'm sure he will, but I think Sam Curran, a couple of years ago, went for the most ever amount of money.
He did.
He's had a little bit of a drop off.
Yeah.
He hasn't been retained by Punjab. Is he someone that, is he going to get picked? Is he going to go for big money?
He's gonna have to.
Should get picked, isn't he? Because he's an all-rounder,
He
right?
should get picked, but I don't think he should be anyone's first choice player anymore. I think Punjab are obsessed with Sam Curran. I'm hoping they've moved on emotionally. The thing with Sam Curran is if you have a very good team, he fits in perfectly. If you make him the star, he's not good enough at any one skill to help you, right? But if you have a really good team, it gives you incredible flexibility. So you have to know who the team.
Johnny Bairstow in there?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
I reckon-
Bairstow.
Yeah, and he had one great innings last year, didn't he? Where didn't he chase 200?
Got 100, yeah.
60 or
Yeah.
something. He doesn't look like quite the Johnny Bairstow that he used to look like. Liam Livingston's an interesting one. I still think he's a really good player. He's talking about. I think a lot of people underrate him.
He's just coming good again.
Yeah, he's hit
Yeah.
I kind of think with Livingston, there aren't many players in the world that that are more likely to hit 3 sixes in a row than he is. And that,
Not Fraser Murdoch.
well, Fraser McGirt might hit 9 in a row, but he might not face 9 holes. So, you know,
They will score 40 rolls best. So it was good.
But I just think with Livingston, it's like he could switch so quickly into God mode where you're just like, oh,
And
God,
he's become a really good bowler the last 6 months, well, hasn't he?
probably not that, but
Oh,
certainly
come
his
on,
batting.
he's would you not say he's a good bowler now?
He's useful. He's useful. Useful.
good.
Yeah.
Would you have him as your 5th bowler in a side?
Did sick. Oh, well, there you go. So,
Didn't he in the match that West Indies won? He went 1 over for 30.
yes,
1 over for 30.
it can happen. What I'm saying is always great.
Yeah.
With Jimmy Anderson, would you?
I was going to say Jimmy. I would ask you, Bumble. It'd be some story, wouldn't it? If Jimmy Anderson gets an IPL contract.
He must be collecting air miles, Jim. Or he likes getting out of the house. I couldn't believe it. I thought this is a bit of a spoof that Jimmy Anderson shoved himself. And he's at the base rate, isn't he? Does that mean he has to go at that rate, or can he go?
He can go higher.
He can go higher.
That's if 2 teams want him. I can't imagine 2 teams are going to win. So when the IPL started, I think there was.
What about marketing value?
Well, I don't know if he puts that many Indian bums on seats.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You even know care that the leading wicket taker of seam bowlers that's not sexy for
Jimmy
him.
Is Joe Root in a lot of teams? So
Sure.
do you remember when Flintoff went? Flintoff was the last player I thought that from England that had the ability to do that. I just don't think Anderson does. I'm not saying.
Is there any value though in a team picking up Jimmy Anderson?
So when the IPL started, I could be wrong, but you could have 10 or 12 overseas players, which actually was a much better system because it allowed you to pick. You didn't have to pick the same players over and over again. You could have a specialist in there, right? You could have Samuel Badri in for just 2 games if you wanted, right? Now I think it's 8 that you're allowed to have in your overall.
It's 8,
squad.
yeah.
Yeah,
And you can play
and
four.
because of that, they don't feel as comfortable having someone like Jimmy Anderson in. So I don't see how he fits into it. I think that's a mistake of the IPL. I wouldn't even have overseas players. I'd allow them to pick any players. The Indian players are more than good enough to get in the sides now. They don't have to worry about that. But they're not going to go that direction. So I think it would be hard to get Jimmy Anderson in. But if I'm a team, I say, look, we can't pick you as a player, mate. But do you want to come over and be a
Mentor. Oh, what a job.
There we go. The full loop.
job.
Yeah, we brought it back.
You guys are good at this, by the way, aren't you? Jimmy's going to have some time in India, isn't he, next couple of weeks? He's going to earn some decent money, mentoring.
I just wonder when, he's obviously comfortably off, Jimmy Anderson. He's in at the base rate and somebody just snaps him up at that. And he looks at it, really? Is that it?
Yeah, but if Jimmy Anderson gets the base rate, surely he can get advertising and, all the sorts of stuff of maybe he goes and opens a couple of supermarkets and gets a watch deal and everything else.
open a supermarket?
Indian cricketers open supermarkets and shopping centres like you would not believe. They make a lot of.
Coming down to Jimmy
Yeah, but
Anderson's to get
he's not an Indian cricketer, is he?
No, but the overseas. Aaron Finch had like a hair care ad at one stage. Do you know what I mean? Like these things happen when you're over there and you're fun. Did you not know about this? So you know what England cricketers do when they're retiring? They go around the corporate boxes.
Sure.
Indian cricketers open supermarkets and shopping centres, and they go and they get the big novelty scissors and they take the photo and they smile with the CEO and they make mad cash. More money than he made his entire career for opening a single shopping centre.
I'm having lots of fun with this. Throw me one more name, a name we should account for. As in big money, not getting picked at all. Throw me another name.
Oh, you want another player who made
anything?
I'm just going to go Jacob Bethel.
Jacob
He's
Bethel.
a very exciting young cricketer.
I think Jacob Bethel's a really, really good one to watch.
You like him, yeah?
I'm really interested on Prithvi Shaw.
Yes.
Yeah,
Prithvi
because
Shaw.
he was an absolute star a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And no longer in fashion anymore. There is not many players in the world who are better at hitting boundaries on the power play than Prithvi Shaw.
I know Fraser McCann.
I know Prithvi Shaw has some other issues.
Liam Livingston. Oh, Liam Livingston.
They're not in the power play. Livingston's not in the power play. You had him as a bowler a minute ago. He just got hit for 30.
Liam Livingston, in the last year for England, has been a very, very good bowler.
How did he bowl in the IPL last time?
I said for England, he's been a very good bowler, okay?
I'm going home.
I think we're done. There we go. Oh.